The world of animation has grown as an entertainment medium drastically over the course of its lifetime, starting as more of a novelty than anything, moving on to tell full stories. Animation was revolutionized in the early 1990s by moving into the ever-elusive third dimension, all because of a computer graphics company out of California called Pixar. Since their release of the first feature-length 3D animated film Toy Story, Pixar has grown into a widely recognizable animation monster who can somehow simultaneously make you sympathize with villains, cars, and talking dogs alike, all while tugging at your heartstrings like some kind of fleshy harpsichord. I'm sorry, that was bad. I'll never say that phrase again. We've spent the last month covering every important aspect of Pixar, and it has all culminated to this, the official Cinema Brawls ranking of every Pixar movie to date. Keep in mind, this is just a list. If you want to see how we got to these conclusions, check out our other video, linked in the description. Well, I've beaten this letter I with a desk lamp for long enough. Let's get right into it. My name is Matt from Cinema Brawls, and with the help of Jake and Daniel, who are really just some raccoons in trench coats disguised as humans, we ranked every single Pixar movie to date. Starting off the list at the bottom, number 21, is Cars 2. Directed by John Lasseter and released in June 2011, it was a sequel no one really asked for. While it does have some fun moments and is still entertaining to watch, having the comic relief character Mater take the reins and go through several side stories just wasn't what the audience wanted. Next up at number 20 is The Good Dinosaur. The Good Dinosaur was released in November 2015 and directed by Peter Sohn. It took an interesting premise, asking the question of what if the asteroid that destroyed the dinosaurs missed, but didn't run with it as well as maybe they could have, which resulted in a kind of boring movie. With that being said, it is a very visually stunning film, and it seems like Arlo and Spot had some fun. Our number 19 spot goes to Cars 3. Cars 3 was released in June 2017 and was directed by Brian Fee. It was a fresh take on the Cars franchise, as it took all of the best qualities from the first Cars movie and made them its own. Unfortunately, it didn't really push it further than that, and that's why it's so low on this list. Number 18, Finding Dory. Released in June of 2016 and directed by Andrew Stanton, it was legitimately a fun ride with a lot of great humor. But there was just something about it that was missing. The other original main characters took a backseat in favor of the comic relief getting most of the attention, similar to Cars 2 or any of the last 12 Pirates of the Caribbean movies. It was simply missing a lot of the heart that the first one had. It's like if Finding Nemo is one of the normal sea lions, then Finding Dory is Gerald. Or, in other words, if Finding Nemo is, well, me, then that would make Finding Dory, well, Daniel. Monsters University takes our number 17 spot, released in June 2013 and directed by Dan Scanlon. Are you sensing a theme here? Because I am. Pixar sequels have the potential to be something really special, but unfortunately most of them fall flat in our eyes, and Monsters University is no exception. It comes up short for a lot of the same reasons the others do, starting with a good premise, but not really capturing the audience's attention. This one does better than the others, however, because it was a lot of fun to watch and the characters have a lot of growth. For number 16, we went with the newly released Toy Story 4. Josh Cooley's creation had a lot of good character moments and relationships, but none of that could help this movie from being yet another sequel no one really asked for. It pulled away from the group dynamic between the toys and gave Woody a very heartfelt journey and subsequent goodbye, and maybe with more time and a few rewatches, it'll get better in our eyes. For number 15, we decided to place Brave. Brave was released in June of 2012 and was directed by Mark Andrews and Brenda Chapman. Brave is a very underrated Pixar film and actually has a lot to offer. It builds on a great atmosphere, has a unique story, and Meredith's passion is as fiery as her hair, and was worthy enough to be an official Disney princess, so kids can look up to her now and in the future. Unfortunately, it falls so low on this list because of all the great movies ahead of it. In fact, pretty much from here on out, they are all great movies that simply needed to be placed on this list somewhere. Ratatouille slices its way into our number 14 spot. It's directed by Brad Bird and was released in June 2007. Fun fact, a local university near where we live actually helped out with a lot of the production of this movie. Cool, right? Ratatouille is the Pixar creative team at their best, taking something as simple as a rat, putting it in its usual setting, and then totally flipping it on its head. What if instead of taking the food, the rat was trying to make the food? It's a lot of fun and reminds us we can all follow our dreams. And if you can't, you should feel really bad, because a rat could do what you couldn't. Number 13 goes to Incredibles 2. Incredibles 2 was released in June of 2018, also directed by Brad Bird, and was the sequel we were all waiting 15 years for. It was funny, had great action, and unlike other sequels, actually was a good addition to the incredible family story. However, the realistic textures over the exaggerated caricature-like figures kind of pulled us out of the experience, and, let's be honest, no one can even come close to Syndrome as a villain. Moving right along to our number 12, we have the movie Up. It was released in May of 2009 and was directed by Pete Docter. It's pretty safe to say that Up is an emotional roller coaster. And I'm not just talking about one of those basic up and down ones either, like one of those ones that has a loop and those like corkscrew things and stuff. Yeah. It gives you a glimpse into Carl's whole life, cluing you in on the reasons for his crabby demeanor, and then you watch him regain his youth, as it were, and more importantly, you watch him learn to let go. Coming up next for number 11 is Toy Story 2. It was released in November 1999 and was directed by John Lasseter and is, in my humble opinion, a perfect sequel. It builds on all the things the first one established as far as story and character development goes. Pixar was able to really branch out and put the toys in new locations and send them on a new adventure that was fun to watch. All right, we're halfway done. Is everyone doing okay? Yeah, no? Need a break? No? Good. Because this is where things get really good. Starting off the top 10 of this list is Coco, released in November 2017 and directed by Lee Unkrich. It has gorgeous visuals, and the City of the Dead is one of the best things to come out of Pixar recently. Not to mention Coco's recent topping of our last list. Even with all that being said, the time devoted to the development of this film alone is enough to get it this far onto our list. The creative teams at Pixar spent months at a time traveling to Mexico and researching every aspect they could to make this film look, move, and feel authentic. Almost everything in this film is rooted in real-life Hispanic culture, thus making it not only a lot of fun, but educational. See, I just used the word thus in its correct context. Take thus, Harvard. Speeding into number 9 is the first Cars movie, released in June 2006 and directed by John Lasseter. Despite the heated views of a certain Daniel, most would agree the first Cars movie has a lot to offer. It was fun, has good characters, and we saw said characters experience a lot of growth. It asks an important question, as a lot of Pixar movies do. What do you want to be remembered by? Fame and awards, or for being a good person? It has a unique aesthetic and charm that only Pixar is able to do. See Disney's Planes movie for reference. Next up is number 8, WALL-E. WALL-E was released in June 2008 and was directed by Andrew Stanton. It is a beautiful looking movie and was the first one I remember looking at and thinking, wow, this almost looks real. It is the best at conveying emotion without saying any words. After all, actions speak louder. And this little robot's actions made all the difference for this post-apocalyptic world. The number 7 spot goes to Toy Story 3, released in June 2010 and directed by Lee Unkrich. Much like the second Toy Story, it further expands the story of these characters in a natural way. What happens to them when Andy grows up? It had great action, some great humor, and some truly heartbreaking moments. It focused on the toys as a whole group, which is what the fourth one was missing, but still gave Woody a good inner journey to follow like the fourth one did well. And let's be honest, Lotso was easily a close second for Best Pixar Villain. Number 6 is reserved for A Bug's Life, released in November 1998 and directed by John Lasseter. It was Pixar's second film made, and because of that, it kind of gets lost in the shuffle and forgotten. But go back to it one of these days, and I promise you'll see just how good it really is. Just as with all Pixar films, it has a good story, good humor, and a third act that still gives me chills. Hopper is also the third best Pixar villain ever. Did you know that this list also features another meta list, or an ant-sized list? Well, anyway, Bug's Life is one of my favorites, and if you say that Ants with a Z is better, I would have to tell you you're either wrong or being paid by DreamWorks to say that. Our number 5 spot just has to go to Finding Nemo, released in May of 2003 and directed by Andrew Stanton. Remember back toward the beginning of this list when I said why Finding Dory was bad because of all the things it didn't have that Finding Nemo did have? Yeah, good times. All of those reasons still stand. Finding Nemo made the most interesting story anyone has ever made about fish. Prove me wrong. The sense of adventure is great, and the inspiring tale of a dad finding his son is just packed full of so much charm. Number 4, Inside Out. It was released in June of 2015 and was directed by Pete Docter. Inside Out is a very touching film that we believe needs to be shown in schools simply for the message it conveys. It's okay to feel sad sometimes. It's okay to be scared or happy or any other emotion. Expression is a good thing. And it teaches us this beautiful sentiment, all the while showing us a very creative and very well thought out world that goes on inside a single person's head. Number 3 might surprise you, as it's going to the original Toy Story. It was released in November 1995 and directed by John Lasseter. Like I mentioned before, Toy Story was the first feature-length 3D animated film, and Pixar wouldn't be what it is today if it wasn't for Toy Story. It's simple, it's fun, it made every little kid stake out for days at a time waiting for their toys to come alive. It's okay. I won't tell. Just do it. Just do it! And that level of hysteria doesn't happen without the figurative magic Pixar makes. All right, it's down to the wire now. Our number 2 spot goes to Monsters, Inc. It was released in November 2001 and was directed by Pete Docter. Monsters, Inc. is a fun movie. It has memorable characters, a creative premise, and a great story. The skill that went into animating Sully's fur alone, never mind the rest of the movie, is an animation marvel, especially considering this was only Pixar's 4th movie. It just goes to show you that Pixar goes all in on everything they do. Our number 1 top Pixar movie ever, the best of the best, the cream of the crop. Heck, I could go on like this all day. It's The Incredibles, released in November 2004 and directed by Brad Bird. Are there a lot of you surprised by this decision? Well, don't be, because The Incredibles is great. It features something almost everyone loves, superheroes. But it's more than that. It's about growing and changing and being able to become super no matter the scenario, like even raising a family. There's a great story with loads of mystery, tons of great action, and the best Pixar villain ever put to screen. It's just so good. It's just so good. And that's our list. Are there any of you that would have your number 1 different from ours? Comment below and follow us on social media for other updates and events coming to our channel like Pixar Month. Again, check out our last video to see more discussions for each entry, and we'll catch you next time here at Cinema Brawls.